Hi. Okay, so as I start delving into more and more of this research thing, I am going to be asking you to locate, to find, to read, to evaluate peer-reviewed journal articles. They are some of the most credible sources, current and relevant in psychology. And so they're a great, great source to use when you are researching and trying to find evidence to support your ideas, to support your claims, and to further the investigation and create more. So, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to actually break down what a peer-reviewed journal article is, what it looks like, its structure, where its components are, and what the most important parts of it to read is, so that that way you're not looking at it going 16, 20 pages, oh my, and getting the overwhelmed feeling. There are certain sections that provide you the most information for the stage that you're in right now. And so I'm going to just break all that down to make a peer-reviewed journal article that feels kind of big and overwhelming feel so much more manageable and understandable. Okay, because they can be very scientific, they can be very clinical, very quantitative and numbery and bunch of things. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have a sample peer-reviewed journal article up, kind of random. Here we go. And so I'm just going to show you some of the finer details about it. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to show you is that the first page holds all of your referencing materials. So on the first page, you'll be able to see everything that you need to in order to reference this source, to cite it, the whole nine. For example, here are your authors. Okay, typically on the first page, not only do they provide you with the authors, but they also provide you with the author's credentials. These little superscripts should guide you to, let me see, right down here, right here. Their credentials, where they're from, certain important parts of the information, that kind of stuff. So those are your authors. We have the date of publication up here. So this was published in 2018. Remember, within the 5-year span is the most credible because things change so much. Psychology is such a fast-paced discipline, and we learn daily new information. So within the first 5 years of today's date is typically the most credible. So 2018, and then we have the title, right? Titles for peer-reviewed journal articles are usually very lengthy and very specific. They don't really have fun titles. They're not exuberant. They're just very much to the point so that someone could look at the title and know what's inside of the paper. And it also helps with preliminary research. As you go about it, you're looking at the titles. Do the titles look like it's something that, would be able to work for you? So they're very specific titles. It provides you with the journal article, the journal that published the article. It provides you with the volume number. It provides you with the issue number. So we have volume and issue number. And then it also provides you with the DOI, or the link that connects to this journal article. And then all of these things are going to be used in your APA reference. Okay. So the first page contains that kind of information. The first page also contains the abstract. Now, the abstract is very important because it's a very quick summary of everything that is inside of this article. As you can see, this one's actually a little bit more detailed than others. Usually it's just about a paragraph, but it provides you with the purpose, kind of how they went about it, and the end results, so that when you read the abstract, you know what you're in for, but you actually read the article to see the deeper side of things. Okay, so abstracts are pretty awesome. This one's broken down a little bit more, but very, very useful. Background. So the introduction and the background are here to provide you with information on what research has already occurred prior to this article being published. So it's what we call a literature review. So they're presenting their case. It's an introduction of what they're talking about, introduction into what research has already been published about this topic. And what that does is it ends up revealing that there are gaps in literature. And a gap in literature is when there's something that still hasn't been investigated fully. There's something that still needs attention. And that's what this article is going to focus on. By the end of your introduction or your background, you will have, at the end of it, you will have your purpose. So they'll state why they are doing this, why they are writing this paper, what the purpose of it is, the hypotheses, if you will. So within this context, there is a need to investigate. We aimed to investigate. These are kind of keyword phrases that highlight, hey, this is the purpose of this paper, right? So the purpose is usually located in the last 2, maybe 3 paragraphs of a journal, of the introduction of a journal article, okay? And you might have to read it to see it. They won't just be like boom in your face, but that's kind of where they're located. That's really important to know. After the introduction and all that fun stuff, you have the methods. So in the methods section, they are breaking down the design. So what research design was used, things that you're going to be learning in chapter 2.4, things that you're going to be working with on your discussion board. So the design, where things took place. They have information about the participants, the people who were engaged in the study, how many, what their demographics are, where they came from, all that fun stuff. How data was collected, any type of instruments used. So if there were questionnaires used, if there was like, what surveys were used, if there were, anything to measure something in the body, whatever was used in the experiment gets detailed in the methods. As well as statistical analysis. So how they went about analyzing the data. So if they used a program, you can see right here, they used SPSS for the statistics, things like that. They will let you know here. So any type of statistical programs that they use. Okay, so the methods is really important to know how they went about their experiment, how they went about their study. It's also a place where you get to be pretty judgmental. You can, was the study generalizable enough? Did they have enough participants to be able to say, yeah, this happens for the majority of, the population? Was the sample diverse enough? Was it, did they follow the procedures in a good way? Is there something that they could have done better? Were the surveys credible? It's kind of the place where you get to judge on those kind of things. As you're reading it, you're looking for that credibility. The results. So the results come right after the methods. And the thing about the results is it's wordy and it's quantitative and it is confusing. More times than not, the results are pretty confusing. They're laid out in a very, very clinical way. And sometimes they're just really hard to understand, So another way to get the same information as the results, but to have it make a little bit more sense into what you're working with, is to go into the discussion. So the discussion gives you the results, but it gives you the results in context with the purpose. So it explains it out. It narrates what the results really were, what they really mean, and how they connect to the bigger part of this. They connect to that purpose, how they connect to the message. So if you want to know what the results are, what the bottom line of the results are, this is where you want to go, your discussion. The present findings indicate that the majority of mothers perceived blah, 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 and it just keeps going. But the discussion is important when you're reading a journal article. And last but not least, the conclusion. The conclusion is just a nice little summary, ties everything up. It ties up the result and the discussion and the purposes all together in one very quick synopsis. The discussion's more in detail and the conclusion's a little bit less in detail, but it still provides you that boost of information. Okay. And then after this, you will have your references, some more authors, details, all that fun stuff. But then you have your references. And we know from the scavenger hunt why these things are important. I think it was a scavenger hunt, right, that we talked about references. But either way, the references are important so that you can go and find these sources, check their credibility, and do all of that fun stuff. It's just, yeah, that's the setup. So when you are reading a peer-reviewed journal article, in order not to feel so overwhelmed by it, in order to get all that good information from it, things that you want to really pay attention to are the abstract, the introduction, the methods, and the discussion. Those are the things that really are going to give you the information that you want and the information that you can work with. Of course, if you want to read more and do all that, more than, yeah, go for it. But those are the specific sections within a journal article that will really help you, at least through this class and through the assignments that I'm asking you. So I hope that this helps in breaking down what a peer-reviewed journal article looks like and what it feels like and where all the information is. And again, if you have any questions, make sure that you reach out, okay? All right, guys, talk soon.